I was born in Edmonton, Alberta on December the 15th, 1928, and we moved to Richmond in 1939. Richmond in 1939 was just a great place to live. It was a farming community. Mainly in the area of Bridgeport, there were small farms where we were raised. In Richmond at that time, there was only one doctor here, and that was Dr. Graves, and he was in Stevenson. There was nothing here, as far as the emergency facility. After graduating from Richmond High, I attended UBC and I graduated from medicine in 1955. I started practice in February 1957 in a little shopping center called Highland Park. I had a family practice. Initially, my first patients were young families because at that time, you could buy a house in Richmond for $10,000 and $1,000 down. And so that there was a major influx of young families here. The fact there was no hospital here, that means that all my patients had to be admitted to either Vancouver General or St. Paul's. As a result of that, I had to attend to these people every day if they were admitted, so that sometimes I went to Vancouver twice a day, so that it meant between 2 or 3 hours a day just driving to the hospitals and back. I'd used to drive 25,000 miles a year just making house calls and going to the hospitals downtown. I recall one episode in which I had a delivery at St. Paul's Hospital, was coming home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and fell asleep driving down Granville Street, and I was awakened by horns tooting. So I know that exhaustion was a factor there.
Tony and I met in 1960. I was a nurse working at one of the hospitals in Vancouver. I happened to be working in pediatrics, and he had some of his pediatric patients there. That's where we met. Perhaps he thought that this might be a good foundation for somebody that might be his wife. Who knows? We were married on September the 8th, 1962, in the same church that my parents had been married in 30 years previously. We have 3 children. Wendy was born in 1963, Susan was born in 1965, and David was born in 1967.
The Richmond Hospital opened in February 1966. It had a dramatic impact on my life. I didn't have to make as many house calls because people, when they were sick, they could come to the Richmond Hospital, to the emergency department there.
The opening of Richmond Hospital was a great day for everybody in Richmond, and we were standing there filled with joy like everybody else was in our community.
When the hospital opened up, we'd acquired full-time specialists, and it covered all disciplines. And they had full-time offices here so that if we had a problem, we can refer them immediately to them. So it's very, very great for the patients and great for the family doctors here.
I grew up in Richmond from the age of 5 onwards. I actually grew up number 1 Road in Blundell. And so the elementary school I went to was Quilchena Elementary School. And the 3 of the siblings went there, and we lived close by on a street called Winchelsea Crescent. I did an undergraduate at UBC in something called Pharmacology and Therapeutics, and then after that went to medical school, and I graduated in 1998 from UBC. All of the surgeons that we have here had opportunities to work at hospitals other than Richmond Hospital. But the reason that we all ended up here was for the environment of the hospital and the community and of our colleagues. What defines our team best in Richmond is that we offer the full spectrum of urologic care within our group. Dr. Hennessy, Dr. Hamidizadeh, Dr. Rappaport, and myself, we can offer virtually every subspecialty level of care. Surgeons always want to provide optimal care that is uncompromising, and in order to do that, we need to have the best equipment, and oftentimes you need very technically advanced large pieces of equipment, and having that has allowed us to attract the best urologists, vascular surgeons, general surgeons, and orthopedic surgeons possible to the hospital. Medical imaging is a cornerstone of clinical evaluation, management of all of our patients. The infrastructure that we need for medical imaging has grown an incredible amount. We have a wonderful CT scanner, MRI scanner, ultrasonic imaging equipment, but quite frankly, the way things are going with cancer detection and monitoring, we could use additional scanners. The community of Richmond has grown by leaps and bounds, and even in the short 40 years, relatively speaking, that I've been in Richmond, the population's doubled to tripled in size. The North Tower is now 50 years old. It's served the community incredibly well over these past 50 years. But medicine and the technology has changed, so our needs for infrastructure have changed.
The challenge now for Richmond Hospital is the fact that the tower we have now is aging. It's not seismically sound, and it needs to be replaced. Back then, we wanted the best health care for the people of Richmond. We still want the same thing today, and that's what a new tower will mean for us.
The donors are critical to providing us with a vast majority of the tools that we use. And just like any workman, the workmanship relies on having the best tools available. And the donors have done that forever within this hospital. There's never been a question about some piece of equipment we've needed. I can speak of the gratitude of every single surgeon in this hospital to the donors for allowing us to provide that level of care and providing us with the tools we need.
We want to make sure that the best health care is available for everybody in Richmond now and in the future.
My hope for the future is that if someone is sitting in my chair 50 years from now as department head, looks back, they're going to be able to recognize the passion of the community, of the donors, of everyone that was brought together to make Richmond Hospital the place it is.
I've always loved this community. To be able to have a home and a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful children and now all these 7 great grandchildren, it's just great. I am so happy to be a part of this community, and that's why I want to give back to the community.